Hello, Bigfoot enthusiast. Scott here from Squatch America.
And Anna, the domestic goddess, chief cook, and doggy mama in the paddy wagon, hiding behind the SquatchAmerica.com sticker.
You are. Oh, lean this way. There we go. All right, folks. So we got a great show for you tonight. We're going to be talking with two guests all at once. It's going to be a lot of fun. And we got a couple shout outs to some of you guys today, and that's coming up later. So let's get into this. All right, folks. So tonight we've got two Bigfoot enthusiasts, I might say.
I think they've surpassed
enthusiasts. All right, so we've got William Nighthawk and Dennis Carroll.
And boy, both of them in the studio tonight. Oh, buckle your seatbelts.
Buckle your seatbelts. Hi guys, how are you doing?
All right, how's it going?
We're doing good, doing good.
All right, yeah, we've had you both on the show individually, but not together. And I know you're together, not on the Nighthawk show. So
just be ready for your audio and video problems to start.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, it's going to happen. It always does. Well, we're actually kind of blessed tonight. We don't have any bad weather. Usually when it starts snowing and stuff here, our internet goes out, and one time we had a guest on and we left and he was stuck there by himself. So
I think I watched that
was a long time ago.
Yeah. So
well, for those of you who have not met these two gentlemen, we're going to start with introductions.
Oh, great.
I will introduce Mr. Dennis Carroll. And the reason that I am introducing him is because we both graduated from Anderson University
there we go.
in Anderson, South Carolina. So we are fellow Trojans. And I never knew that there was a Trojan other than the University of SoCal. But apparently, Anderson. There we go.
Yeah, big A.
Big A.
A big A.
Best school I ever went to. I loved it. And I've been to a lot of colleges. I cannot speak more highly of Anderson.
Must have been one of them party universities.
I went, I was in my 40s when I went, and it was all via distance, and we were all tired music teachers, so there was no partying for us.
There.
There you go.
All right. Yeah. So I'd like to introduce William Nighthawk. Being a Native American anthropologist, I really like talking to a Native American cultural man himself. There we
go. I guess that makes me an antique or a relic, huh?
It does.
Aren't we all, though?
Aren't we all? So we have said hi in the chat for see Hannah's chatting, so we don't have to do it live now.
Just talk to
the people. All right. So tonight we want to talk Bigfoot, of course, as always, because that's what we do here. And these gentlemen have a lot of experience at that. I'm going to start with William. What got you into the Bigfoot thing in the first place?
Being born Native American.
Yeah, exactly.
I really have no other way to put it.
Right.
Yeah, I literally was born into it. I mean, and not just that aspect of the, but the whole aspect of paranormal. It's just, what we deal with on a regular basis when we're traditionals, growing up in a traditional manner and doing ceremony and being connected to everything. So just kind of came second nature with being in the family. So
yeah, exactly. I understand, and I can say that's what got me into it, working with tribes my whole life. I haven't found a tribe that doesn't have a Bigfoot legend.
Exactly.
So
exactly. Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. In fact, one of my first experience, and I've said this several times on the show, is I was with an elder from the Miwok tribe in California, and we saw a pictograph. And I didn't know what it meant, and that's what I used to do for a living, was read pictographs, and that's what I've studied my whole life. And I saw a pictograph and I wasn't sure what it was. And I asked the elder, you know, what is this? And he said, oh, it's Yaya Lee, hairy man, you know, in their language. Yeah. And I said, you mean like Bigfoot? And he goes, yeah. And I go, they exist. And he looked at me like I was stupid. You know, yeah, they do. Yeah, yeah.
Well, I mean, when you grow up hearing of stories and interacting with them yourselves over a period of time, you know, you can't deny that they're real. Yeah. Most people that deny that they're real are the ones that aren't out there interacting with them. So
exactly. So, Dennis, what got you into this crypto subject?
Well, my whole life I was interested in all types of the paranormal, the whole cake, you might say, not just a little slice of it. I was involved in all that. And what got me a lot, and you know, what really got me interested in Bigfoot, cryptozoology, and all that. I'm big in folklore. I love folklore and superstition and stuff like that. And I began to study the Native American folklore, a lot of that, which is what really began to shape me. Then I had my own experience with actual Bigfoot sighting, and that lit more of a fire under me to find out more and to understand what I saw a little bit more.
All right. Awesome. So, speaking of origins,
Oh, I love a good origin story.
I know. I love a good origin story. When, you know, as an anthropologist, I have this theory, and it's just a theory. I want to put that to you guys. Is you know, we all know about the teeth and the jawbone that's been found at Gigantopithecus over in China.
Yeah.
Well, what was interesting to me when I started looking into that was that where it was found and when it was found and how old it was, because it's been dated to about 10,000 years old on the edge of the Bering Strait. Well, where were we? You know, especially the Native Americans, where were they? On the edge of the Bering Strait 10,000 years ago? You know, so did that migrate with us and over the years, you know, just kind of develop into what we call Bigfoot today? What do you think?
Well, I guess I'll start with that, Dennis. As far as the Bering Land Bridge, I guess that's what you're referring to.
Yeah.
You know, not only did we come across the Bering Land Bridge, but also, you know, other creatures came across. So yes, there's definitely, you know, a definite 100% possibility that, you know, that Yalali and you know, Bigfoot, Sasquatch came across with us, and not just one type either. I mean, you also had Neanderthals back then too that would come across that Bering Bridge too. So you know, you talk about Bigfoot and Native American legend. You'll have some Native people that deal with the more hostile type of a Bigfoot or a Sasquatch. Okay. And then you have others that deal more with the family-oriented, the friendly type, where they did the trading and all that with them, and the gifting. In fact, you're well aware of, Scott and Hannah, of the legend from the Northwest of the Sasquatch coming down off the mountains and having wrestling matches with Native American youth until one of the Native Americans got killed, and then, you know, that stopped. That interaction stopped. So, I mean, they have been a part of Native American legend and folklore for a very, very long time, especially with my family and every indigenous culture in North America. So Canada, you know, and North America and the United States and even parts of South America.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And I'll tell you something, Scott. For me, what is interesting is the fact that the Bigfoot, Sasquatch, whatever name you want to give him, and he has many, many different names all over the world. That's the interesting thing about it. You've got the Yowie, you've got the Yeti, and the list goes on and on and on. And like I say, in Eastern Europe, the Wild Man was what he was originally called. And that goes back thousands of years, this legend of the Wild Man. They really had no other description but to call him a wild man, because that's what basically he kind of looked like. You know, that, hey, this guy is a little different than us. He's got more hair. He's just wild. He stays out in the woods and all that stuff. And to venerate him, he became sort of part of their not only culture but part of their religion's aspect as well, because he turned into what we call the Green Man, and he is sort of worshipped as sort of like or venerated as a god in the aspect of being nature, half man, the man and nature combination thing, and that's very interesting to me. And you being an anthropologist, I love anthropology too, by the way. That's one of my favorite subjects. Uh, that's fascinating that this is all over the world, Vietnam, and the list, like I say, goes on and on.
Yeah, that's cool. In fact, we got a guy in the chat that I want to answer his question really quick.
He's got two of them.
He's got two of them. He said, someone asked why would a forest living species would trek across the frozen north over centuries unless it wasn't frozen back then. And I want to point that out. That's something that we learned in school. It wasn't frozen. The Bering, or what they called Beringia, back then, was all the ice and stuff had collected, up north and down into even northern New York and that area, the Ice Age, basically.
Was that before the Ice Age or something like that? Is that
it was during the Ice Age, but all the water, so that's what lowered the level of the water in the ocean, but it collected but that area was land. It wasn't ice and snow. They had summers, they had winter, just like everywhere else, So during the summers, it wasn't a frozen north. It was land. So and
ironically too, Scott, they found the same theory with Antarctica. They found all kinds of new species of plants and trees and stuff that lived and thrived down there with all four seasons, just like the ones that are up here.
Mm-hmm.
And they have recently discovered under the ice vast lakes that empty into each other. There's no telling what kind of life may be found in those lakes that we don't know about. You
mean weather and climate and topography haven't just been like this?
I know.
You mean there's actually been change before?
Yeah.
No.
Yes. No. There's been climate change before. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Probably gonna get knocked off.
Yeah, probably gonna. We just got demonetized. All right. So
I'm sorry, I can't help myself.
And somebody he said that he heard that the Cherokee believed that they came up from South America. Have you heard that before, William?
I've heard that also, but one thing you have to remember too is you're talking over 12,000, 13,000 years ago.
Yeah.
In history. So, the fact of the matter is, the Cherokee, which I am connected to through my mother too, is actually probably more closely associated with the Mayan culture, because the Mayans were the ones that came up north and across Texas into the south and into southern Georgia and western Georgia. So
yeah. So yeah, and I a lot of people don't know this, but in my career, I ended up working 2 summers on an archaeological dig in Chaco Canyon, New Mexico. And Chaco Canyon is a pictograph legend. I mean, they've got millions of pictographs down there, and I've wrote papers on those pictographs down there. But what they don't realize is that down in New Mexico, this is the north part of New Mexico, almost on the border of Colorado, and it's all Mayan. I mean, we found chocolate, we found parrot skeletons, in our archaeological dig, stuff from South America. It was a big trading post.
And the Mayans and Aztecs, they were the top big civilization on this continent, definitely at that time.
Yep, they were. Yeah, and I meant some of the like kivas and stuff that they built down there in Chaco Canyon are immense. I mean, some of these buildings, you could put 2,000 people in one of them. Actually, it was like a stadium.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And we even find there's a Mayan ball court in what's the name of that town? Starts with an H. Anyway, there's but anyway, down there in in New Mexico. There's a Mayan ball court that was dug up. So
it is 1:15
Okay.
already.
So
oh my gosh.
we've got a few things to say now and a few things to say later. But we'll
Okay.
say we want to give some special shout outs.
Yeah, okay,
right now.
so folks, we want to do a couple special shout outs really quick to a couple of folks here. And one, we have a new Patreon member, and for all our new Patreon members, I made a thing. You want to see the thing?
So
there we go.
So, welcome to Susie Cherry. I don't know if she's in the audience tonight, but she just joined up today, and we are really, really happy to have her. And if you are not a Patreon member, please go to patreon.com backslash Squatch America. I believe that is in the notes.
It's
correct?
in the notes to them.
So click on that link after the show, and you can sign up. Tier 1 for $5, or you can really knock yourself out and sign up at tier 4 for $50, or anywhere in between.
Yep. And secondly, shout out to actually Donna Matoza, and Donna's an old time fan who's in the chat, I know for a fact. And this is her brother, and today is his birthday.
Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday. Hey Todd, if you're listening, I want you to know that you are special. You are deeply loved and cherished. You are a child of the universe. In fact, the whole universe comes from your very center. So don't ever sell yourself short. Have a great day. Celebrate hard. Tell me about it tomorrow. So not too hard. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
All right, there we go. And we're back.
Now you know what he has to live with every single day.
That should be your ringtone, Scott.
It should be. No, she doesn't. She doesn't like my ringtone. My ringtone is "You killed Kenny." Okay. Oh, you're getting a lot of comments on your song.
I got one comment. That's one. Joe, you've gotten way more for me than a birthday song, so knock it off.
Okay. So, anywho, let's get back into our discussion. Now, I wanted to talk about something we kind of touched on earlier, and this is right up Dennis's area. I just did a radio broadcast with the, was it? I can't remember the name of the station. Oh, KLIP, the Lip. There we go. And Kenosha was W. I forgot. It's the other side of the Mississippi. So it's WLIP on the Lip. I just did a radio show. They have that's called their radio station is 1050 AM. So this was area 1051 show they have. So area 51 show. And we talked a lot about the Dogman over there. And do you know what? We've had this discussion, and I'm sitting on the fence about Dogman myself, and I'm wondering if they're just Bigfoot misidentified or not. What do you think, Dennis?
Well, to me, the Dogman is a very interesting thing. It's sort of, to me, it doesn't. I don't know. It's just my own personal opinion. Feel like it belongs in our nature, our natural order of things. Bigfoot would to me be more natural than the Dogman. That's what strikes me. It's kind of strange about it. To me, it's almost as if I'm not going to go out on a limb and say it comes from another dimension. Really, I don't know about that, but it's almost as if he is an otherworldly type thing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's interesting. Yeah, it could be. Yeah. What is there Dogman legends in native lore that you know, William?
Yeah, actually there is.
Oh,
that just took a turn.
That took a turn.
Yeah, that just knocked the wind out of Scott's sails.
It did. Yeah. And that's fine.
Actually,
I'm here to discover stuff. Yeah.
There, up in the Yukon territory of Canada, there is old legends of a group of wild animal beings that lived out there, away from humanity and everything, away from Native Americans too. But some of the Native Americans used to gift them, and so they weren't as mean to them. But they were described as canine looking. Now, you have to understand too, one thing though. When you're looking at Bigfoot, you're looking at probably 4 distinct different types of Bigfoot.
Mhm.
Okay, and one of them is called the Gugway. Okay. Now, in my culture, in my family history, what I was always told that the Gugway could have been misconstrued for our interpretation of the Bear Man or the Dog Man back in the day. So, it's kind of like, a toss up, it's 50-50 chance that it's actually a Dog Man. But they were described as looking canine, hairy, but yet human too, on top of that. So, but they were supposed to have come down from the Yukon area, the remote Yukon area, down into United States. So,
that's
that's the only time I've ever heard of any type of indigenous legend as far as the northern people go. But as far as them being around, well, I would say yeah, they are in fact around. I'm not going to go so far as to say, like Dennis said, about them being interdimensional or whatnot, but then they very well could be. I'm one to think outside the box, but I would say that more than likely they are probably more closely in tune with being supernatural in nature. Dennis and I have talked before about, if you see the red eyes, that something supernatural is happening. Okay, because the eyes are the window to the soul. Okay, and if you see the red eyes, and people say, oh, well, they glow like that because they live underground, that could very well be true. But every instance that somebody has said something about a red-eyed cryptid creature, that cryptid creature has been malevolent and evil in nature. So,
and here, you got to think about the legend of the Rougarou, which is in southern Louisiana and all that. He's described as having the body of a man and the head of a dog or a wolf. And there are legends that go back to ancient Greece about an island of dog men. These men were half dog and half human. So this is stuff that goes way back. And in different parts of the world, these things have gone back. So you have to wonder, where did this start and why?
Yeah. And then you got to.
But of course, the legend of the werewolf, which is tied supernaturally, by the way. Here's the interesting thing, and that's what I tell people about the difference in the dog man and the werewolf. Is the werewolf is sometimes a man, completely a man. The dog man is the dog man 24/7. He doesn't change into a man, and that's the big difference. But there is that, like William says, I have a feeling that there is some type of a supernatural tie to these things going on.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's something that's very interesting. That by blood, I don't sound like it, but my family's Cajun, so I'm Cajun, by blood, and what's really interesting is that the werewolf comes from France, and Cajuns are Acadian French, or Acadian French people. So that might have been something that brought over from Europe, too, with them over the years. I was going to ask William, now what about shapeshifters? I forgot the word in my head.
Skinwalkers.
Skinwalkers. That's Could they be equated with dogmen?
No.
Okay. Yeah.
And let me explain why.
Okay.
First off, with my people, we have the legend of the Shunka. Okay.
Mhm.
And you know as well as anybody out that way towards you that legend is pretty prevalent too.
Mhm.
Some people know them as a demon wolf, a smoke wolf. I forget some of the other ones that they're called. Dire wolf.
Dire wolf.
Um,
Yep.
you know, but one thing that always was the possibility that I always tried to pinpoint with the dog man is that the Shunka was actually a dog man. You have reports of Bigfoot running on all fours most of the time. Okay. You have reports of Shunka running on all fours most of the time, but there's nothing saying that it can't be bipedal.
Mhm.
So, and the Shunka is always a dog. Okay. It doesn't change back and forth from human or animal. Whereas a skinwalker ceremony is a very, very special sacred ceremony. Okay. It's a rite. It's a rite, and it's, I don't want to say religious rite, because you have to do something or bad in black magic, dark witchcraft, whatever you want to call it, in order to obtain that precise ceremony and knowledge. Okay. Or you have to be born into it. Okay. Without going into details in the ceremony, a lot of the ceremony is flesh offering, it's blood sacrifice, it's, you know, it's incantations, songs that are sung, it's the animal pelt and the animal's blood that you're going to transfer into. So it in no way, shape, or form can even be remotely considered to be a dog man.
Okay.
Okay, there's just too much ceremony involved into it.
Right.
So.
And
That's the
most
same with the werewolf. You know, the werewolf, the magical part is they put on the wolf belt, the pelt or whatever it is, and they do the incantations and all that. Unless you're the victim of a werewolf. Now, you may have the curse of the werewolf. In other words, if you've been bitten and you live, or it's a curse on your family for that matter, generational type curse. You may have but mainly it is like the skinwalker. It is a desired magical effect. You know.
Yeah.
Okay, there was a question way up before the break. It was, you don't have to go all the way up.
Okay.
But Donna was asking William if there was anything to Bigfoot's taking human women. I can't believe I just said Bigfoot's. Whether Bigfoot ever takes human women to mate with.
Well, yes, there's been instances of women being taken. There's been instances of children being taken. One of the misconceptions, and I'm going to put this out there to everybody right now, is with my people, one of the misconceptions was that Bigfoot was taking the children to eat. Well, that's not altogether true. Okay. Yes, you're going to have your mean, your mean northern, as far as Alaskan Bigfoot that are bigger and meaner. You're going to have your gugways that probably would seize the opportunity if they were hungry enough. But for the basic family-oriented Bigfoot, they were thinking more on the lines of increasing their population, their family. A lot of times the female Bigfoot would come in and steal the young because they lost their own child. Okay. So in fact, we had a legend on our reservation for the longest time. About 2:00 every morning, this female Bigfoot will come out in the middle of the big field and she would just wail and cry all night long. Well, she did that because she had lost her child. Okay. And she did this for a good couple years until she had a chance to have another child. So they take, the more humanistic looking Bigfoot will take family more at heart. Okay. It's not a pack mentality. It is literally a family mentality, So
yeah, I actually heard a Ojibwa member tell a story about how Bigfoot would take children that were sick and bring them back well.
Yep. Yeah, we have those same stories. The Ojibwe.
Scott, another thing that maybe popped in my mind while we were talking about that. If Bigfoot is related to the apes in a way, or if there's some connection, into the ape kind of a section thing, or primate thing, and I think it might be likely too, But a lot of people don't realize they don't just go around eating foliage and berries off of trees. They actually eat meat as well. A lot of apes do that. And I see Bigfoot also surviving that way. If you're going to survive, nothing's going to be off the table,
Yeah.
I don't know about eating people now, the cannibalistic part of them. And that was a big taboo, as William knows very well, with the Native American people. And that goes in with the Wendigo type thing, that was the cannibalistic type thing. I think Bigfoot would also kind of adhere to that as well, being a family unit. And if you eat humans, you would definitely eat your own Bigfoot offspring too. And I don't think it was that way. I think they had just as much respect for that as the Native Americans did as well. But meat wasn't off the table. It wasn't off the menu. But I don't think they went that far as to be cannibalistic.
Right, exactly. As far if I remember, I think the Wendigo legend is humans that were cannibals that turned into the creature. I don't know if that's
the legend of the Wendigo, it has a couple different variations, but for the most part, it is a basically like a demonic possession,
spirit,
where the person actually resorts to cannibalism. In fact, gorges himself on. The Wendigo is said to not have any lips because it got so hungry that it ate its own lips. It's a pretty sickening legend.
It is.
That goes. And the Rougarou has that aspect as well. The Rougarou is a spiritual type thing that takes over. That's why it says it has the body of human and the head of a wolf or the dog. It takes over the human, and it has a desire for murder, to actually just kill, very violently kill things. So it kind of has a little, sort of like a distant cousin of a Wendigo in a way,
And the fact that you have the both of them have a thing where you can only injure or kill the Rougarou or the Wendigo by drawing blood or cutting its heart out and burning its heart.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting. Yeah. Okay. So we got another question real quick.
Well, it was kind of a statement by Damien, basically suggests that he was thinking maybe Bigfoot takes babies or children because he witnesses abuse. And from my former, but I've got so many past lives, it's ridiculous. And I don't mean like weird past lives. I mean past lives within this lifetime. Past careers and things. And,
there we go.
I know that there have been rare cases documented where human children have been raised by other species, primarily dogs. But my thought is if Bigfoot is witnessing abuse and responding, that actually, it doesn't just suggest a high form of consciousness, it suggests a high form of ego, a highly developed ego like ours. So I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I mean, you're getting kind of close into the legend of the Fae. You're talking the changelings and stuff like that, where the changelings would be changed out for healthy human babies, and the sick changeling would be put back to be raised by humans. Basically the same thing goes on with anything. You go back to Romulus and Remus, who were raised by wolves. Yeah. So I mean, it can
it's
happen.
possible,
I mean,
that's where the guy got the idea for Tarzan of the Apes too, as well, because there are legends of people being raised by apes in the jungle. You also have a correlation with that to the fact that the Fae is very much like the alien abduction that we talk about nowadays. People are getting taken by these things. And it was not only just children, as William knows, it was grown people as well that were lured away by these by the Fae and taken to their so-called kingdom or court. And
let's talk about sirens while we're there.
No, good. Yeah, but I remember talking with a gentleman from Alaska who was a Inuit, and they had a legend about a woman who just got fed up with her tribe and went and lived with the Bigfoot and came back 15 years later.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that too.
Uh-huh.
Well, it is 35 minutes
Oh,
after.
it's 35.
So
we got to take a break.
Well, not a big break. We're taking. Don't even get out of there. The bottom of the hour break is this. Everyone, if you're on your phones, you can go to where the thumbs up is and click that thumbs up. You can also click the share button. And if you have a Facebook account, you have a channel. I'll bet you didn't know you had a channel. So you click the share button and post it. Just post it right here in Facebook to your feed. We'll have 24. I've already done it. 24 shares into the Facebook universe. So we'll click that like button and share into the Facebook feed or the universe. And then also, if you have not subscribed, click the subscribe and the notification bell button.
So ding all this stuff. Yeah, and we got one other thing that we do.
I was going to do it later, but go for it.
Okay. If you need internet and you're on the road,
or you're not, you're just out in the sticks.
And you need internet. We use Nomad Internet here. That's what we're doing our show on right now. And what that is, it's a portable internet system that's not hooked to a wire that we have in our camper, and wherever we're at, we got internet through Nomad. So if you click the link below, you can get $25 off your first month.
And if when we go camping without our camper, we can take the modem from our camper and put it in our pickup, and we have internet.
Yep, there we go. As long as you can get a Verizon tower, you're good.
Yeah,
all right.
They're everywhere.
So, all right. So,
and final thing.
What?
Or are you doing that later? I have no idea.
We'll do that later.
Okay. So we'll have one more thing later. This is really off the cuff all the time.
Yeah. So, people are asking where you guys are from. Actually, you're in South Carolina, right, Dennis?
Yeah. I'm sorry, what?
Oh, you're in South Carolina. People are asking where you guys are from. You're in South Carolina, and you're in Virginia, right, William? Right now?
That's correct. Yep.
Virginia.
Dennis, I could never live in Anderson ever. Because I would balloon to 400 pounds in 3 weeks off that dang chocolatier downtown.
It's still the same, too. It's changed a little. Yeah, it's changed a little. There's a few new things down there, but it's basically about the same. As you know, I'm very close to Georgia. It's right across, the line from there. So it's basically a good area, Hartwell Lake and all that, And I've had some interesting reports from the lake about some actual Bigfoot sightings and stuff like that. So it keeps me occupied,
Yeah.
We've got a good question for you, Dennis. Danny wants to know, where in Anderson County do you go?
To Bigfoot?
Yeah, and we've gotten quite a few reports from Anderson County, so we know that, that he's there. But where do you go? Because Danny is actually from Anderson.
Yeah, there's a guy in the chat that's from, he said Lake Hartwell.
Yeah. Well, I had a report from Hartwell where the guy was fishing. He was out on the lake, and he was looking back towards the shore, and he saw Bigfoot actually standing by the bushes. Saw about half of him standing by the bushes and look at him, and he said it scared him so bad, that he just left the lake that day. He just completely left. He quit fishing and all that. So I said it's serious when something makes you quit fishing, when it makes you stop fishing.
Yes.
So I went and checked the place out and couldn't find anything though. But one of the very first actual Bigfoot cases I had was here in Anderson. It was it's been about 30 years ago, I guess. And it was very interesting. And with this guy, and his girlfriend were on sort of a little lover's lane like, and it was out in the Broadway Lake area. And it was kind of growed up back then. It was very country. Now it's not. But they actually reported this thing picking the rear end of his Volkswagen up. And the Volkswagen, the heaviest part of an old Volkswagen was the back. That's where the engine was.
Yeah.
And he said he picked this thing up off the ground and just kind of threw it, just kind of pushed it. And they talked about the very bad smell that he saw. He got out of the car and saw just a silhouette of this thing standing next to a dead-end road sign there. And I went there about maybe 3 or 4 days after this happened. And unfortunately, there had been a rain. And where he spotted this thing, there was not any mud or anything. So I couldn't find any tracks. But let me tell you this, guy. There was still a smell there, what I call the dead skunk smell. Mm-hmm. That was still lingering there. Not very strong, but I could feel a whiff of it. But all the time I was there, and I measured the sign was like over 8 foot high. So this thing was huge because he said it was way over the sign. But all the time I was there, I had the creepy feeling something was watching me, definitely. But the interesting thing about all this is, and I've said this to other people, if you want to look for Bigfoot, go to water. Because that's where he's going to hang out at, I believe. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what we do when we go out. Is I usually follow creeks or lake shores looking for footprints. That's where you're going to find them. You won't find them walking through the woods
or powerways.
Yeah. Yep.
So. But that's what we were talking about today on that other show I did previously. My idea is that you don't just go walking through the woods constantly looking for Bigfoot. You're not going to find it. The best thing to do is to make yourself a blind and become part of the land, and you'll have more of a chance of seeing and kind of bushwhacking him, other than going out and actively looking for him, because he knows he's probably heard you from 5 miles away. Okay. He's not, if you were to run into him, you would be incredibly lucky. It would just be luck. You know what I'm saying?
Especially if you're running around.
There's a right way and a wrong way to hunt or look for anything.
Yeah. What was that, William?
I said, especially if you're running around in the woods with a stick smacking trees.
Yeah.
That's not too stealthy.
No, it's not. No, I tell people to leave the camo. I know I'm wearing camo, but it's really good winter wear. But anyway, if you leave the camo at home, because you're not going to sneak up on them.
Nope.
Yep.
That's like the guys, Scott, to go deer hunting. They'll be up in the deer stand waiting for deer smoking cigarettes, Yeah. And wait on. I said, what do you think you're going to get with that?
Exactly.
Crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And in fact, I know that my son is really into deer hunting and things. And he's got soap that masks his scent, and he puts deer urine on when he goes out in the woods.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't visit him on those weekends.
Yeah.
Well, if we want to save time for audience questions, we need to get to our last thing.
Oh my gosh, already. You guys, the time's flying.
Maybe we need a 2-hour show.
We do. Okay. All right. So what's our last thing? Oh yeah, coming up stuff. All right. So hold on real quick, folks. We want to tell you about what's coming up. All right. So on January 27th and 28th in Cowlitz, I can't never say that. Cowlitz County.
Kelso. It's in Kelso.
It's in Kelso, Washington. It says Longview, but it's actually in Kelso. Squatch Fest 2023. And we'll be guest speaking with all the people. We got Cliff Bergman, Shane Corson, Dr. Jeff, Mark Marcel, myself, and Kathy Strain. We'll all be speaking there, and so come out and see us and have fun.
And then next week
next week we have on our show with this, we're going to do an interview with Michael Freeman, who surprisingly is not a Bigfooter, but he knows one. In fact, he grew up with one. So he was
kind of created by one.
He was created by one. So So we're going to be talking about his new book and going over some of his dad's finds and legends. And a lot of people don't know all the stuff that Paul Freeman found. And actually, kind of the funny thing, I want to get into this with the guys too, is we'll probably get into this a little bit next week with him, but a lot of people don't know this, but after the video came out and after he was on the news a few times and all that stuff, Paul Freeman, they had to move because they were getting so much bad press and people mocking him and stuff in his hometown. They actually moved. And a lot of people don't know this. His dad was so obsessed after his sighting that he would drive. They moved 400 miles away and he would drive the 400 miles to go back to his spot every weekend for years.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
It's
yeah. And it's kind of interesting. I was at a Bigfoot conference a few years ago in Pocatello, Idaho. And that's the, let's see, what tribe was he from? He wasn't Blackfoot. He was Shoshone. There was a Shoshone elder that came to the thing. And after my talk and stuff, he came to my booth and we talked a little bit, and he looked at me and he was a shaman with his tribe. And he looked at me and he goes, you know, Bigfoot took your soul. And I'm like, what? He said, Bigfoot took your soul. He goes, you're obsessed with it. So I toned it down after that a little bit.
Is that what you call this?
Yeah. So,
well, there is a legend too, though, Scott, that when you make your eye contact with your first encounter, there is a connection, a supernatural connection that you would have. So.
Yep. Yep. And
you know, there's an old saying too that, you know, if you, even when you meet wild animals like bear and all that, you're not supposed to make eye contact because the fear of those animals can be brought out. You know, you have to be very careful to make that kind of contact, and that's especially if you run into a supernatural type entity. You definitely don't want to have an eye contact thing going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that was right after I actually had one encounter in my life with a Bigfoot, and yeah, we stared at each other eye to eye for about 200 feet away for about 3 seconds.
Changed our life.
Yep.
Changed our life.
Yep.
But you know, the animals in the wild have that inherent fear of humanity. You know, that's there. It's even biblical, by the way. Supposedly, that fear is there, and if you trigger it, you got to be very careful. You want to trigger it because you can have a bad reaction, especially with a bear or a mountain lion or anything like that. You know. But the interesting thing about a lot of these animals too, and I think Bigfoot may share that thing too, is they're very territorial. You know, animals have territories. They mark, even dogs mark the scent in the yard, you know, where they at. It's all very territorial. And I think that would go along with even Dogman or Bigfoot as well, that they have a marked territory. And once you enter that, the game may be on, you know.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And you'd better open up for questions because we've got less than 10
minutes. So if you got
that.
questions, throw them in the chat right now, folks. No, there was something that I agree with that territory thing, because from the reports that we get, you know, from different people, I've been for the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, been trying to put together the culture of these things, how they live. I mean, what their family structures are like and stuff like that from reports. That's kind of like what we've been doing with our research. And I do get, like, in this area, you know, we get a report of people seeing a male and a female and a young one, you know, in this area. And from the reports I get, I can tell you the areas for this family, the area for that family, you know, from the reports.
Yeah. What you need to do too, Scott, is correlate those reports that you're getting with Native American culture in the area, how certain people live their lives on a daily basis, because a lot of the Sasquatch Bigfoot beings are going to mimic what the indigenous people have done for hundreds, if not thousands of years.
Yeah, do you know there's something very interesting. We just recently last August found a nest, like a big built nest of these trees woven together, tree limbs woven together. I mean, some of these are 6 inches around and they're snapped off. There wasn't a cut limb in the whole thing. And what was really interesting is it had an opening in it. It kind of looked like an igloo or a teepee, basically. And it was with a native guy who had found it, who told me about it, and he took me out to the spot. And I was looking at it really, you know, the structure and stuff. And I mentioned something to him. I said, do you know that the opening is facing directly west? And he said, well, he's Shoshone. And he said, well, my people, when they were told to build the teepees, they always put the door facing west. And so that was a correlation there to me anyway, that they were building, and it was directly west too. So that was really interesting. I pulled my compass out. Yeah. So did you have a...
Yes, Danny wants to know if there are tree breaks in South Carolina.
Is there tree breaks in South Carolina? Dennis?
Not a whole lot, yeah. But I have actually run into some of those structures once in a while. I found them, and I call them temporary. They're not, you know, it's not home style stuff. I've run into those kind of structures in the forest there, especially in the Oconee forest back up in that way. I've run into several of them, and like I said before, it's always near water. It's not on the water or not that close, but it's always nearby. That or like a swamp, you know, or something like that. It's very interesting. And you know, a lot of times I've had people, those just fell together. Usually in the forest, saplings do not fall together and form something like that. That's just something that's manipulated, you know, by something. And like you said, a lot of times those things are woven together, you know.
Well, this was woven together, and one of the trees that were woven into it was actually pulled up by the roots. So it wasn't something that fell over, you know, and we couldn't find where it came from, you know. And it was 100 yards from a river, by the way.
Yeah, well, some of these I have found, Scott, were pulled up. You know, definitely, you could tell they were pulled. They didn't just fall over. And another thing is, if you find one that's just rotten or something, they don't use the rotten stuff. I don't think they use more of the better type material than they would that. And here's another interesting thing, though, to me, when I had my sighting, that Bigfoot thing that I saw went right behind the big tree. Okay, it was a big oak tree, and I have hunted. I've deer hunted back in the old days. I've hunted a lot of stuff, and any animal, even in the dark, when they go through the forest, they leave a little bit of a trail. You can see the bushes move. You can see that, but this thing was gone so quickly. It just went behind a tree and just like it blinked out. It was just gone. You know, I even went and looked up the tree. I said, did it climb the tree? You know, and I could see through the forest, and I would have seen it definitely making its way out of there because it was scrub brush, you know, like. And to me, that was one of the big mysteries for Bigfoot. How did it get gone so quickly out of my sight? That, you know, like that. I've never seen the characteristics of anything else than Bigfoot that does that. Most animals, bear and all that stuff, they leave a kind of a trail, you know, when they're trying to get away from you or trying to leave. If Bigfoot can do that, it's wild. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, you know, almost supernatural, really, in the way he does that. But that's what struck me. That's what got me interested in what the heck it was I saw and how did it get away from me that quickly? To this day, I still puzzle over that because it just doesn't follow the natural course of things, you know.
Right. Well, my thoughts on that is a couple of things. Is one, when you're 8 feet tall, you have a really long stride. It doesn't take you many steps to go a lot of feet. You know what I'm saying? So even though they're walking, I bet they're incredibly fast. And the second thing, I've had reports of people seeing these things just walk into the woods and then disappearing. And one gentleman, one time we had one report, and this was on Mount Hood in Oregon, where a gentleman saw one and he actually went after it and walked into the woods and just vanished on him. And he walked and walked and walked and it couldn't figure out where he goes. And he turned around and it was standing behind him. What it did is it had stopped and let him walk by him.
Yeah, they double back. Yeah, they double back. Yeah, yeah. And I've often told people that, Scott, if you were trailing Bigfoot or anything for that matter, it's a good idea to double back because it may be doing the same thing. It may be trying to get behind you. Very smart. These things are not stupid. Definitely not. Yeah. And they can outsmart you if you're not careful.
Oh, I've had bears double back on me in the woods. Walking a circle and get back up to me. So,
yeah.
Let's see, what else is that?
No, just go up. Go up to Dale's. That has something to Dale.
Dale asks, "What's your thought on portals?" We were just kind of touching on that just now.
Uh-oh. That's one of my favorite subjects.
Yeah, I know. I'll throw something at you really quick. When I was working with the Miwok tribe, and I spent a lot of time, I spent 2 years with them, right?
Yeah, right.
One of their legends is wherever Bigfoot goes, a light follows.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And
it's a possibility. It's a possibility. Nothing's off when it comes to things like this, Scott. Nothing's off the table. Yeah. But it's a possibility that there could be some type of portal activity like that. I have been in areas in the woods where I have thought I have run into portals. You would call portal activity. I've had compasses, go crazy. I've seen that happen. So there's something going on. There's something out there in the woods besides just Bigfoot. There's some other weird stuff too that's going on. And he may be connected to some of it too.
Yeah.
If it gets to a point where you're in the middle of nowhere and it gets real quiet, you've walked into a portal.
Yeah.
So
things that sort of everything, you sort of have a timeless quality to it. This is just everything stops. Yeah.
Danny asks, "What color are the Bigfoot in South Carolina?"
Okay, usually the one I saw was red haired. Okay, he was kind of red. I could see the long hair a little bit. It wasn't real long, but it's kind of hanging off the arm a little bit there, and it was a reddish, sort of a dark reddish brown. So there you go.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because we do get reports and stuff, and the one I saw was in Oregon, and it was black.
Yeah, black. Uh-huh.
Yep, and the ones I deal with are black too. So black or silver.
Yep. Wait, the questions are just pouring in now.
No, they are. Curious. What's that say?
They might get gray-headed like we do when we get older.
Yeah. Curious. Is Bigfoot known to be found in the jungle environments? Can't seem to find any reference to any known sightings there.
I've heard a lot of reports of that in Vietnam and Laos and Cambodia. They even supposedly hang around some of the temples over there and are venerated by some of the holy men there as well.
And
so there's a lot of
stuff in Asia. Too.
Yeah, what was that, William?
Yeah, you're going to go down into South America also, and you're going to find, that the South American Bigfoot actually came up from South America into Texas, Louisiana, all the way over into Florida, Georgia area. And they're the ones that are the littler ones, 7 to 8 feet tall, that have nasty dispositions about living in a swamp. So, they came up from South America. So
like the Honey Island monster that you hear about.
Yeah. Now here's something really interesting. I got a friend of mine who's a Bigfooter who just moved to down south, all the way down south. What's the name of the country? Dave. Patagonia. Oh, he just moved to Patagonia, and that's where his wife is from. And he told me Patagon means hairy
Oh
man.
yeah.
Patagon means Bigfoot.
Yeah.
And now here's something very interesting that you just triggered in my brain. When we were studying anthropology and we were studying how people moved from China into America here, what they discovered after DNA came out, they called it continental stacking. And what happened was, they say the people down south and in the southern part, like in Patagonia area, their DNA are closer to our older Chinese than the DNA of the people in the north. So they think when they came across the Bering Land Strait, they went down all the way south. And then as the population stacked up, they started populating the north parts of
the migration.
Yeah. So what if Bigfoot did the same thing? What if they started down south and came back up north after they migrated? Because who wants to live up north when you can go down south, you know?
I know I don't.
I know Hannah don't.
I find it interesting that the southern Bigfoot, since we're talking about South Carolina, the southern Bigfoot is smaller somewhat than the northern Bigfoot, and I find that very interesting. So, like William said, you're dealing with different types here, and I think it goes down to their environment, where they're adapted, their adaptation to these places,
Yep. Right. That's why most of the Alaskan Bigfoot are reports we get. They're bigger. They're huge. That 10, 12 feet tall. In North America here, they're 8, 10 feet tall, and then down south, 6, 7.
Yep.
Well,
that's interesting.
Well, you do know that there are some polar bears that have been clocked at 15 foot, high. I mean, you're talking about big stuff. The further north you get, and that environment produces that, it produces that sort of a thing, which would be a whole lot different than what we call a skunk ape in the Florida Everglades and stuff. It's a different ball game,
Yep.
Guess what?
It's time. Oh my gosh, we burned an hour. We hadn't even got started yet, guys.
This is what happens when it's a free-for-all chat. The only thing that would make it better would be like Jay Peters doing this over Jay Peters steak and adult beverages.
So William, when's your show on, and what's it called, and where do they find it?
Oh, well, we have a couple different shows right now. We have Into the Red Rabbit Hole on Friday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern, which is found on Nighthawk High Strangeness podcast channel. And then we have Saturday and Sunday mornings. Dennis and I do a podcast in the mornings. It's called the Paranormal Weekend Morning Brew Show, where we just sit around and we talk everything paranormal and drink a cup of coffee and chat. So, awesome. And that's audience participation too. And then I got a bunch of new ones coming up in January. We did a new one last night called Becoming Monsters, and it delves into the special abilities and supernatural aspects of cryptid creatures. So
we also have a Christmas special coming up within a few days, all about angels.
I'll sing.
I
have a few Bigfoot Christmas carols. Just saying.
Yeah, and those are coming too. By the way, we're gonna post those. So all right. So thank you so much, gentlemen, and go catch their podcast. Please do, and like and subscribe to all their stuff. And
as always, thank you so much for watching us. I don't know how we started talking about cooking, but hey, put a few women together in the chat and you never know what's going to happen.
All right.
So just remember.
Okay, hold on. I got to get to the right thing. Oh my gosh, I lost it.
You've got too many slides on
Too many slides on here.
Our job is to investigate the unexplained.
Not to explain the uninvestigated.
So you keep watching and
we'll keep squatching.
Bye now.
Bye. Now I got to get to the other thing.